What's happening, everyone? It's your man Sparta, and today I'm going to be showing you guys why I have the most unique controller binds. So let me ask you something. Do you guys play Claw? No. Do you play Scuff? No? Well, perfect, because this is the video for you. I'm here today making this video to showcase to you guys the most unique and best binds for a non-Claw or Scuff player. I'm going to be showing the difference between the default binds you start with and the custom binds I have made myself. Some of these changes have been very game breaking for me, while others just seem small and are just in the picture. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's jump on in. So in Fortnite, some of the biggest advantages on controller consist of either being a claw player or a scuff player. One requires money, which is scuff, while the other requires determination and finger coordination, which is claw. But what do you do if you don't want to spend the money on a scuff, or you think claw is a little painful? Well, there is a few options for a player in this situation, and that is to rebind certain slots to different slots to improve gameplay. Finding the best binds can definitely be a struggle, and taking some time and training to get used to. So today, I'm going to be going over those things. I actually used to play Claw on Xbox 360 for years, up from Black Ops 1 up until Black Ops 3 when I quit playing and I came to PS4. I still can play it sometimes, like Call of Duty and Apex. I use it for Circle, but not as much as the years and years of experience I had on 360. Plus, Fortnite is a lot more demanding than Call of Duty. At this point, I have helped well over 15 people with their binds, and they all tell me to this day how game-changing they have become for them as players. Now, I'm by far from a pro player or face sway level goated, but I am someone who definitely has watched and observed the things that help create my binds to the way that I have them today. Not to mention, I'm not that bad myself. So to start off, I'm going to tell you guys the binds I switched and what I changed them to. As you can see in the picture, I have default binds that are given to you when you load into the game on the top, and my binds which are on the bottom. So some of the binds I have changed are: Edit, I changed from circle to L3. Build, I changed from circle to X. Jump, I changed from X to R3. Crouch/repair, I changed from R3 to circle. Squad comms, I unbound and changed to sprint by default, or auto sprint I should say, sorry. Left on my D-pad was glitched, and I don't know why it said record, but it is still the same as marking enemies, so don't worry. Turning my edit bind to L3 was basically needed for a non-claw or scuff player to advance to the next level. It's the best option besides R3. I chose not to use R3 because of the higher possibility of stick drift, and I also felt like it was harder to aim for my next edit and press the stick at weird angles. Plus I run a little higher dead zone on my L3 anyways, so it was a good fit. Using L3 as my edit bind allows me in one way to always have my thumbs on the analog sticks. This one bind has honestly doubled my editing speed, even before I was using code flea in the item shop. Hashtag not sponsored. Please, just a man. Now on my left stick, I run about a 0.9 to a 0.10. On my right stick, I run about a 0.5 to a 0.6. So that's about doubled. So that's why I do edit with L3 instead of R3. Switching to X as my edit bind wasn't an easy decision. At first I tried R3 as my build, but it just didn't fit. Changing to square seemed like an idea, but I really had to think about it. I decided by rebinding my build to X, I'm just a little closer to my analog stick, and I'm getting that slight faster press on my button. Rebinding my build to X also allowed me to rebind my jump to R3. Since I use sprint by default anyways, I didn't really need it. Changing to X, I can't say it's game changing, but as I'll talk about it in a minute, I wanted to rebind my jump to R3 anyways, so it seemed like a good choice at the time. And I can say it has helped in some ways. Now by changing my bind from circle to X from switch mode, I now had circle unbound in lots of games you play on controller. Circle is usually the default crouch button, like in Call of Duty. So by binding jump to R3, I decided to bind my crouch/repair to circle, since it's something I'm very familiar with anyways. Doing this has costed me the ability to crouch up and down when I'm in an opponent's face, but I'm still very quick and able to do it anyways, and able to take peek shots just fine. In games like Call of Duty, dolphin diving, and sliding were used so often that the motions are almost engraved into my thumbs. Changing jump to R3 was something I really wanted to do, and I was willing to do it. Now changing to R3 was something I had really wanted to do for a long time. Unless you're Scuff or your Claw, jumping and aiming at the same time is almost undoable, and jump shots can be really easy kills sometimes, and very unpredictable. I don't press R3 to jump as much as I push L3 to edit, so I definitely want to jump as R3. This single change alone has got me some of the best clutches, made me very agile, and being able to jump without ever letting my fingers off the analog sticks. It has never really changed my gameplay, creating opportunities I wouldn't normally be able to take. In fact, I got a friend to change to R3 as jump, and he truly loves it. I use it on all Call of Duty games and all sorts of other games like Apex, and I will never consider switching it back. I know a lot of people tend to switch their pickaxe to R3, but I just felt like it was perfectly fine at triangle where it's at. I decided to change my right on my D-pad to auto sprint button, so I still had the bind. Honestly, squad comms and emotes are almost the exact same thing. And if you go into your emotes and scroll over left 1, you're in your squad comms anyways, so you're honestly just wasting 2 binds for 1 binding. Now, auto run isn't game breaking in this game, but it's definitely nice being able to jump out of the bus or run long distances without having to hold your analog stick down the entire time. In building, I changed my rotate from R3 to right on my D-pad, changed mat/trap to down on my D-pad, left on my D-pad I unbound, and 2 things I would recommend: I changed my wall from R2 to L2 and stairs from L2 to R2. Don't do this. I did this a long time ago. I regret it so much. Let me explain to you why in a little bit. In my building binds, I've changed most of my stuff the exact same as my combat. Crouch/repair as circle, edit as L3, and jump as R3. Exit builds as X as well. I chose right on my D-pad for rotating builds since it's not very needed anyways in fights. Changing mat/traps is down on my D-pad, which is not bad, but when they add campfires back in, it might be a little bit difficult. I'm thinking about rebinding it to left on my D-pad, just a little bit of an easier click, and I think I'm probably going to do that right after this video, honestly. But the one thing that I don't recommend is do not change your wall and your stairs up. I say this because when I did it, I didn't know about shooting a wall and holding down your build button and having a wall placed in front of you. So for me, I have to aim, shoot, let go of shoot while I'm holding my aim and press build, which it does the job, but with like a pump, it would be a little bit nicer if I didn't have to aim when I was trying to pump somebody's wall and wall replace with the pump. So I do recommend never change those like I did. These are the 2 worst binds. These are the 2 binds that make me the most unique player in the world having these, because I'm sure not many players do have these. And another reason being, I'll explain here in my editing, is I changed my edit binds from reset R3 to R2, select from R2 to R1, confirm from circle to L2, and that is why it is a problem having confirm and wall is the same. Circle was now unbounded, so crouch and jump from X to R3, obviously. The reason I changed my binds the way I did for editing is because I don't use a Scuff or claw, but I did a DIY controller for myself with custom trigger stoppers. I got the idea from Flea actually, but I used the bottom of tacks and super glued them onto my controller instead of zip ties I think he uses, and with the tiniest presses, activate my buttons. They do the same thing as regular trigger stoppers that you could buy from the store or get on a Scuff, but they cost about $3 and you have so many resources left over for future controllers. Just be sure not to glue your triggers down. I'd recommend going on Flea's channel and watching how he does it. He has a video where he shows you how to glue them onto your PS4 controller. But having those as my R2 and L2 has increased my gameplay so much. The little tiny presses, rather than the trigger, calls for a shorter release time. I changed my select from R2 to R1 because at the time I didn't have self-made trigger stoppers, so I wanted my selects to be faster. If you don't have trigger stoppers, or even if you do, I definitely recommend making R1 your select button. It just seems a little bit better as it is a button like X or circle rather than the trigger button, which if you've never heard, the trigger button works like a car on GTA. The more you hold it down, the faster you go, the less you hold it down. So you don't actually have to hold it down all the way for it to activate, just a little press and it activates, which is where the trigger stoppers come into play. So it's definitely very comfy having R1 as my select as well, and I do recommend it. I then changed my reset from R3 to R2 since my R3 is now jump, and at first it was a little bit weird getting the timing down because I didn't have trigger stoppers, but since I made them, I'm in love with this bind as my edit, like as my reset. and for confirm. I actually don't use edit on release. I just don't really like it. So I used L2 as my confirm, since again I have trigger stoppers. But if you don't, you could try using L1 as your confirm or edit on release. But honestly, L2 is not that bad. I used it for a long time without trigger stoppers. It's very doable. With all my binds put together, including R3 as my jump bind, I virtually never have to take my fingers off my analogs to press anything while editing, besides maybe crouch, which you don't do very often when you're editing. So anyways, guys, that's it for showing my binds and why I did them, and kind of a small explanation as to why I have what I do. I know they look a little funky, but nothing really looks normal if it's not really your normal binds, and it'll always seem funky. If you felt the need to search for different binds, then obviously it's in you that you want different binds. Never stop improving until you achieve greatness, guys. So, I really hope you enjoyed the video and maybe something hopefully helped you out in all of this. As always, guys, stay awesome. Have a great day. Sorry I'm not the best talker. Sparta, out.